why at Diddy and other men like him, financial level and success level, that they cannot go get them somebody older.
Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
Here's the scoop that's rocked Hollywood to its very core. And it's not just your average scandal. We're talking whispers of secret gatherings, unspoken alliances, hidden cameras, and some seriously high-profile names that could be at the center of something major. At the heart of it all, Sean Diddy Combs, a music mogul known for his larger-than-life lifestyle and his undeniable impact on the entertainment industry. But it seems there may have been much more going on behind those glamorous parties than anyone realized.
You understand? I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their brand.
Now, most of us know Diddy as one of the most powerful figures in hip-hop. He's been around for decades, and he's crafted an image that's part success story, part showman, and part nightlife legend. But lately, all that shine is dimming under some shocking new claims. Allegations are swirling that these exclusive gatherings he's hosted weren't just about hobnobbing with the elite. They supposedly had a darker side, one that's set to reshape our entire perception of Hollywood's inner circle. It's alleged that Diddy's events involved an underground network, far from the glitzy red carpets and photo ops we're used to seeing.
Breaking news tonight, Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested in a Manhattan hotel this evening after a grand jury indicted the music mogul. His attorney tells CNN that he is currently being processed. The charges are unclear as of...
These exclusive gatherings weren't your standard Hollywood parties. They were on a whole other level. Imagine an invitation list that's more secretive than the Academy Awards, an entry guarded like Fort Knox, and what some guests have hinted at as an experience that left them feeling far more than just starstruck. The fact that names like Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are being whispered about in connection to these events only amps up the intrigue. With new allegations coming out, the picture that's beginning to emerge isn't just scandalous. It's something that could shake Hollywood to its foundations.
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he has to, he won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70. That's when they start talking about letting him come to a halfway house.
According to the rumors, these gatherings weren't just about celebrities letting loose. Think about something way more orchestrated, with an intention behind every invite, every guest list, and even, reportedly, the rooms where the parties took place. If you dig a little deeper, you'll find mentions of hidden cameras, tightly enforced security, and gatherings that allegedly stretched into the early morning hours. Rumor has it, these events were designed to ensure complete privacy, no phones allowed, no outsiders, and no limits to what could go on. With each new detail coming to light, there's a whole new question about what Hollywood's biggest stars might have been up to when the cameras weren't rolling.
A U.S. judge has ruled that the rapper and producer Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial on federal trafficking and racketeering charges in May. He'll be held in prison until then. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges that he used his business empire to transport women and male sex workers across state lines to take part in recorded sexual performances. If convicted, he could face a life sentence.
And here's where things get even more unsettling. We're not just talking about your typical Hollywood party shenanigans. Some insiders are saying these gatherings were essentially off-the-books events where anything could happen. In a city where reputation is everything, these gatherings allegedly operated with a level of protection and influence that only the truly powerful could pull off. Think about it, a scene so secretive that it was only whispered about in Hollywood's most exclusive circles. But now, with Diddy facing some serious legal trouble, those whispers are getting a lot louder.
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the shoe have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on suicide watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, he was like an overnight.
You might be wondering, how does someone maintain that level of secrecy? Well, the answer seems to lie in a network of influence that allegedly protected these gatherings. Imagine a web of lawyers, politicians, and industry insiders all working to keep certain stars out of the tabloids and away from courtroom drama. Rumors are swirling that certain powerful figures may have smoothed over controversies, arranged settlements, and even quieted witnesses to keep secrets safe. This isn't just about Diddy, though. It's about an entire system that allegedly worked to keep Hollywood's elite protected from scandal.
Understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on suicide watch.
Take, for instance, Tony Busby, a lawyer who's been making waves with his revelations. Busby claims he has information that could expose high-profile people linked to these parties. He's been dropping hints left and right, saying that there's footage, names, and records connecting Diddy's circle to gatherings that go far beyond what anyone might call a night out. According to Busby, these high-power gatherings didn't just happen in Diddy's homes. They were carefully set up, secured, and orchestrated to protect the privacy of everyone involved. And he suggested that if this footage sees the light of day, we might be looking at one of the biggest Hollywood scandals in history.
If you're just joining us here, was just arrested and taken into federal custody in New York tonight. Sources tell TMZ Homeland Security swooped into a Midtown hotel late Monday where Diddy was staying, and they arrested him.
So let's talk about these off-the-grid parties. What made them so different? For starters, sources say these events were nothing like the kind of Hollywood party you'd see in a magazine spread. They were meticulously planned, and access was strictly controlled. Many reports suggest that Diddy took great care to ensure that only his most trusted associates and friends were allowed inside. And these weren't your typical A-list soirees. They were reportedly designed to be intensely private affairs with guests expected to check their devices at the door. Allegedly, there were no selfies, no Instagram posts, and definitely no media coverage allowed.
Listen, y'all, I understand that these girls are of age, but this is just disgusting to me. It feels very predatory to me.
What's more, rumors have it that the privacy measures were extreme. There's talk of confiscated phones, security sweeps, and only a handful of trusted staff who knew what was going on. Some have even speculated that hidden cameras were strategically placed, possibly to monitor the goings-on, or as some suspect to create a record that could later be used as leverage. Could this be part of how Diddy maintained such loyalty among his circle? We're not saying for sure, but these rumors paint a picture of events that go well beyond what most of us would ever imagine.
It sounded crazy, like I said before. They said that 2,300 people reached out to the law firm, and out of the 2,300 people, I guess they decided to go with just a little over 100, which seems like it's they just put out the number and everybody's calling to see if they can get a check.
It's insane. It's insane. Now, again, he did say that nothing has been filed yet because he says he wants to make sure that they do their due diligence and get this right.
And it's not just Diddy's involvement that's raising eyebrows. Enter Demi Moore, a Hollywood veteran whose name has been popping up alongside these allegations in a way no one would have ever expected. Demi's career, of course, speaks for itself. She's been a powerhouse in film for decades, making her mark in everything from Ghost to G.I. Jane. But there's another side to Demi's life that's come up before, a side that struggled with some dark moments.
You're not done, and that Combs did not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
Demi has spoken openly in her memoir about growing up in a world where boundaries didn't always mean much. She's shared stories of being exposed to troubling experiences at a young age, like the time her own mother allegedly accepted money from a stranger to give him access to Demi. She also talks about her battle with addiction, her turbulent relationships, and her struggles to reconcile her past. Given this background, some are starting to question whether these early experiences shaped her adult life, perhaps even making her vulnerable to connections that might not have been in her best interest.
I have information that he was arrested tonight at a Manhattan hotel. He is currently being processed. I heard from his attorney they are still maintaining his innocence. They said that in anticipation of these charges that Diddy relocated to New York.
So how did Demi Moore end up associated with Diddy's inner circle? It might surprise some people to know that the two actually crossed paths more than once in Hollywood's glitzy social scene. At award shows, exclusive events, and even some of those whispered about Hollywood parties, Demi and Diddy were seen together enough times to spark curiosity. They may have seemed like an odd match on the surface. After all, she was dominating Hollywood in one way, while Diddy was carving out a name in music and nightlife. But in the world of the Hollywood elite, these kinds of connections often mean much more than they appear to on the surface.
You know, I think in federal court and for these charges, they would say it's routine, but in the public realm, this is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, I mean, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now.
And then there's the added layer of her relationship with Ashton Kutcher. The two were once one of Hollywood's most talked about couples, despite a significant age difference and an often rocky dynamic. Rumor has it that their relationship wasn't quite as traditional as it might have appeared on the surface. They've both hinted in interviews about having an open boundary approach, something that at the time seemed progressive or experimental. But now, people are starting to wonder if there was more to it. Was there an influence from Diddy's world that played a role here? Could Ashton's own connection to Diddy have brought Demi closer into this circle?
It's a question of that, but when you read through the indictment, it's pretty clear who could be indicted as a co-conspirator. Right now, there are people in the indictment who would be considered unnamed co-conspirators, but clearly have played a role in this conspiracy. And I think prosecutors have some big leverage on them because they're hoping that they testify against Diddy as prosecution witnesses.
In Hollywood, relationships are more than just private matters. They're alliances that shape careers, public images, and influence. Demi's ties to Diddy's network raise some serious questions. With Busby hinting at incriminating footage that could involve her, Demi's entire public image could be at risk. Fans are left wondering if the woman they saw on screen, the independent, fierce actress E, might have been involved in a very different reality, away from the spotlight. And with Ashton's long-standing friendship with Diddy, the pieces start to fit together in a way that no one could have anticipated.
Diddy would be throwing all his celebrity mates under the bus.
I mean, that could potentially be coming when it's time for court and when it's time for him to testify. But what we're seeing right now is how important public relations really are to Sean Combs. He's desperately trying to control the narrative behind bars.
Now, it's not just Demi and Ashton whose names are being whispered. Reports are surfacing that other stars may have attended Diddy's exclusive gatherings too. We're talking about some of the biggest names in Hollywood, people you'd recognize instantly. Jennifer Lopez, Jay-Z, and Beyonce are just a few rumored to have been in Diddy's inner circle. Could it be possible that these A-listers were aware of what went on or even took part? It's impossible to say for sure, but the connections between Diddy and these Hollywood icons have sparked some intense speculation. Imagine this. Some of Hollywood's most respected stars all in the same place, attending events where privacy is fiercely guarded and trust is the highest currency. If there's any truth to these rumors, we could be looking at a massive web of influence that's existed for years, right under the public's nose. The notion that such powerful people might have been complicit or at the very least aware of what went on at these gatherings adds a whole new layer to the scandal. And with Busby's allegations, it feels like we're only just beginning to scratch the surface.
We are not done. This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly.
What's especially intriguing is how this scandal could have ripple effects across the entire industry. Hollywood is famously tight-knit, and stars like Jay-Z and Beyonce have cultivated images that go well beyond just music. They're cultural icons. If there's any truth to these connections, the public might start to question just how well they know their favorite stars. As more information potentially comes to light, it's not hard to imagine a fallout that reaches even the highest levels of Hollywood royalty.
Diddy will be sued, and I say will be because nothing has been filed yet, by at least 120 people in the next 30 days. So,
as we wrap up this first section of the story, the scene is set. We've got whispers of a secret world, a network of protection, and some of Hollywood's most well-known names reportedly involved in events that could change the way we think about them forever. But with investigations heating up, it seems that Diddy's circle may not stay hidden much longer. The question now is, who else could be implicated, and how deep does this connection really go? Now, if there's one thing that everyone's talking about, it's the ironic twist that puts Ashton Kutcher right at the heart of this mess. You might know Ashton as the charming, easygoing guy from That 70s Show, or as the brains behind his nonprofit, Thorn, which has become a household name in the fight against trafficking. He's gone on record so many times about his commitment to the cause, even co-founding Thorn to create tech that identifies victims. But here's where it all starts to feel like one of those plot twists you see on a TV drama. The very organization he's championed could now be casting a shadow over his own reputation. His connection to Diddy, his silence on these latest accusations, and even his nonprofit work are now being looked at with fresh eyes, and not in a good way.
Sean had to take responsibility for what he did as an individual. Sean is the one who pulled that gun out. Sean is the one who shot. So he has to take responsibility for that.
So let's start with the big question. How deep is Ashton's involvement with Diddy's circle? The two have a friendship that goes back years, built on nights out, Hollywood gatherings, and shared circles of A-listers who all seemed to run in the same crowd. It's like one of those classic bro friendships, exclusive events behind closed-doors meetings, and a camaraderie that Ashton, until now, seemed to enjoy flaunting. And fans haven't forgotten that back in the day, Diddy even called them his modern-day Rat Pack. Ashton, Diddy, and a few other high-profile stars were known for their clubbing nights, hopping from one exclusive LA club to the next, like they owned the place. In the early 2000s, it seemed harmless enough, just a group of successful stars letting off some steam. But now, with Diddy's current troubles, fans are starting to wonder if Ashton's Rat Pack experience was just another side of the Hollywood elite, one where rules didn't apply and boundaries were only a suggestion.
But there's also strategic reasons for the prosecutors to want him to have co-defendants, because right now he hasn't waived his right to a speedy trial, which would force prosecutors to take him to trial pretty quick, which they actually might not be ready to do. But if they supersede him and have co-defendants with him, it makes it a lot easier to pursue a trial continuance without him waiving his speedy trial right.
Now, here's the part that's really striking. Ashton's long-standing work with Thorn. It's a well-known organization, and Ashton's often seen as a hero for his dedication to this cause. But people can't help but notice the irony here. How does someone who's dedicated to this kind of work end up close friends with someone who's now facing these kinds of accusations? Social media has exploded with theories, with fans questioning Ashton's silence and wondering if there's more to the story. People are asking, how could he not have known? It's the kind of situation where silence isn't helping his case, and every time he dodges a question about Diddy or shrugs off the rumors, it only adds to the speculation. But this isn't just about his friendship with Diddy. There's a viral clip from his Hot Ones interview that's been making the rounds, and if you watch it, Ashton seems almost uncomfortable when he's asked about Diddy's notorious gatherings. When the topic of Diddy's parties comes up, he laughs it off and says, "I've got a lot I can't tell," with a smirk that now looks more like nerves than humor. Fans are dissecting this moment, trying to figure out if he was hinting at something darker, or maybe just avoiding getting himself into trouble. Either way, the clip has gone viral, and people are demanding answers.
I came here today just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
Ashton's silence is especially surprising, given how outspoken he usually is. Over the years, he's used his platform to advocate for justice and transparency, so this sudden quiet has fans on edge. Some are even speculating that he's purposely staying silent because he might know more than he's letting on. After all, Ashton's nonprofit deals with some of the very issues that are now being brought up in connection with Diddy's gatherings. It's hard not to see the irony and wonder if Ashton's close friendship with Diddy is at odds with his public persona as a defender of justice. But the plot thickens when you look at Ashton's personal life, especially his relationship with Demi Moore. Their marriage, once the talk of Hollywood, was full of unexpected twists and turns. From the beginning, their relationship was unconventional. Demi was 16 years older, and their open boundary lifestyle raised more than a few eyebrows. Back then, they called it progressive, a Hollywood relationship that went beyond traditional labels. But now, some fans are questioning whether this open lifestyle was connected to Diddy's influence. After all, Ashton and Demi were part of that same Hollywood scene, the same exclusive circles where Diddy was known for hosting his gatherings. Could Ashton's connection to Diddy have played a part in their lifestyle choices?
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment, as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
Demi's own life has been filled with struggles, and she's never shied away from talking about it. She's shared stories of trauma, addiction, and growing up in a world where her boundaries weren't always respected. She's even opened up about her relationship with her mother, describing how, at one point, her mother's choices put her in harm's way. For Demi, her past experiences have had a lasting impact on her life, and now fans are starting to wonder if those old scars might have influenced the relationships she found herself in later on. There's a sense that maybe Demi's connection to Diddy's world wasn't entirely a coincidence, that perhaps her past made her vulnerable to the allure of a scene where boundaries were blurred.
What his team is trying to do is get the public to assume that the government is leaking some of this negative information about him, like that Cassie video. But the reality is, he's got a lot of enemies.
As if that weren't enough, her daughters are also feeling the impact of these revelations. Rumor, Scout, and Tallulah grew up in the shadow of their mother's fame and her controversies. And now, with Demi's name connected to Diddy's gatherings, they're being dragged into the spotlight once again. It's hard not to feel for them, watching their mother's reputation get called into question, their family's past rehashed for the world to see. Demi has been open about how her choices affected her daughters, especially during her marriage to Ashton. She admitted in her memoir that she struggled with boundaries and that her lifestyle impacted her family. Now her daughters are facing a new wave of scrutiny, and it's like history is repeating itself in a way they probably never expected. And speaking of reputations on the line, there's another rumor that's making the rounds and has everyone holding their breath. According to BuzzFeed, there's allegedly some compromising footage from Diddy's gatherings that could implicate some of Hollywood's biggest stars, including Demi and Ashton. This rumored footage is said to show guests in situations they'd probably rather keep private, and the idea that video evidence exists has everyone on edge. Imagine being part of Hollywood's elite, thinking you're safe and secure at a private event, only to find out that cameras were rolling the whole time. Some insiders are even suggesting that this footage might have been used as leverage to keep certain stars loyal or to keep them silent about what went on at these gatherings. It's a chilling thought. That footage exists, just waiting to be revealed. And if it's true, it could spell disaster for some of Hollywood's most famous faces. The rumors about this footage have added an entirely new layer to the scandal, and it's almost like a ticking time bomb. Fans and critics alike are waiting to see if any of this will come to light and what it might mean for those involved. If these tapes do surface, it's not just Diddy's reputation that's at stake. It's the reputations of everyone in his circle, from A-listers to rising stars. Hollywood might never look the same. And then there's the wild rumor that Diddy, aware of the impending storm, tried to make a run for it. Just after his LA mansion was raided, Diddy was spotted at the Miami airport, looking stressed, pacing outside with a look that could only be described as worried. Fans immediately started speculating that he was planning to disappear, to leave the country and go underground. He eventually returned, but the damage was done. Rumors spread that Diddy might have left his family behind during the raid, which only fueled the narrative that he was trying to escape. His legal team quickly jumped in, calling the raid an unprecedented ambush and saying that Diddy was cooperating with authorities. They went on to describe the raid as excessive, a military-level operation that they argued was more about spectacle than justice.
If that's part of the indictment, that's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody.
But while Diddy's legal team fights to protect his reputation, fans are starting to draw comparisons between his case and another infamous scandal that exposed the hidden world of the rich and powerful. That's right. Many are likening Diddy's alleged gatherings to the now infamous gatherings of Jeffrey Epstein, where the elite rubbed shoulders at events that, as it turns out, hid a much darker side. Just the mention of that comparison has everyone on edge, wondering if this is another case of wealth and influence being used to conceal serious secrets.
Jay-Z got his ass whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You got it. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your ass whooped.
The parallel between these two cases isn't lost on the public. In both instances, you have a powerful figure, a secretive network, and a set of accusations that go way beyond what we're used to hearing about Hollywood parties. If Diddy's case ends up going down a similar path, it could open up a side of Hollywood that's been hidden from view, exposing connections, secrets, and alliances that fans could have never imagined. The stakes couldn't be higher. If these tapes and testimonies make their way into the public eye, it's not just Diddy's world that will be rocked. It's Hollywood itself, a place where image is everything, where stars cultivate personas that they project to the world. But what happens when that image is shattered, when secrets that were once whispered about in private are laid bare for everyone to see? The fallout could be immense, and Hollywood might be forced to face a reckoning unlike anything it's ever seen before.
I don't think they are scared of him. I think they more so they don't want him to embarrass their reputation and things that they've been known for. You understand?
And that brings us back to the stars who've been caught up in this story. For Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher, the consequences of being connected to Diddy's world could be devastating. They've both worked hard to build their brands, to cultivate a certain image, and to distance themselves from controversies. But with Diddy's case unfolding, their connection to his gatherings, even if it was only on the periphery, could have lasting effects on their careers and their legacies. So, as we look to the future, one question remains. Will Ashton and Demi speak up and tell their side of the story, or will they continue to stay silent and let the rumors and speculation build? Either way, it's clear that this scandal is far from over, and as more details come to light, Hollywood's elite might just have to confront a side of themselves they've tried to keep hidden. This could be the beginning of a new era where the truth, no matter how shocking, is finally brought to light. And for Ashton, Demi, and the others, it's a reminder that in Hollywood, secrets rarely stay hidden forever.